All right. So as we talked about last night, Colorado took a 1-0 lead in the series with a 4-3 overtime win on Wednesday. Of course, Burakovsky, which it's great to see him play because we know the last time we saw him, he took a puck off the skate. He was out for a little bit with that. So it looks like he's 100%, which is really plays into, Colorado having that long layoff and having guys be able to come back healthy, including him and Darcy Kemper. And we'll see what happens with Nazem Kadri. There's been some talk that he might come back in games 3, maybe 4. But that hand injury, that's a tough injury to have when you need that to play that position, obviously. The favorite in this series improves to 16-5. So in their last 21 times that they played, the favorite has won 16 of them. The puck would drop 8 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Pacific. Listed goaltenders, of course, will be Andrei Vaisevskiy and Darcy Kemper, unless something happens to Kemper, which we've seen. If it's not Kemper, then obviously they will go with their backup there. So, who has been fantastic as well. So the odds look pretty similar to what we've seen in the first game. Colorado sits at $1.50 favorite, a number that's been bet down from $1.55 as the public tries to grab some of that plus money, which I expected. I expected that in game 1 and game 2. That's a good betting strategy where you go in, you have a team like Tampa Bay, and you try to get that plus money in game 1 and game 2, knowing you will not get plus money in game 3 and game 4. The total is the same as it was in game 1 at 6, minus $1.10 each way. No movement yet on the total, but the majority of the tickets have been on the under. So watch for that. If you do like the under, go get it right now because you might be looking at maybe $1.15 come game time. All right, so as far as the breakdown on this game is concerned, if there was any rust, and we saw it earlier against St. Louis, if there was any rust from the Colorado Avalanche, it lasted about 7 minutes. And that's what we've seen throughout the postseason. There was a big layoff before that game or that series against St. Louis that came out for the first 10 minutes or so, and St. Louis played well, but Colorado ultimately got the victory. So there wasn't a lot of rust. The only rust that I was really concerned about is whether or not you would see that with Darcy Kemper. And, of course, not only was he out, but he also was battling an eye injury. So if you're a goaltender and you're battling an eye injury, obviously that's not something that you want to be dealing with. We saw Colorado come out, take a quick 2-0 lead. They've now won 6 straight games in the postseason, 13 of 17 at home, dating back to the regular season. And I was surprised, outside of the 2 goals in the 43 seconds in the second period, how little offense the Lightning were able to generate against Darcy Kemper. And that included 3 Lightning power plays. So besides that, I thought I would see a little bit more. We saw John Cooper come out and say, hey, look, this isn't us. And granted, I believe that because we've seen in the postseason where Tampa Bay they need a couple games to get into the series. We'll talk about Andrei Vaisevskiy and his game 1 versus the rest of the series. He got some astonishing numbers for that. But I always felt like game 2, when we're talking about the total, I always felt like game 2 was a time where both coaches would tighten down after a high-scoring game. And coaches in every series knows that in order to win, especially at the Stanley Cup Final level, you better find a way to play defense. You better find a way to stop the other team's dynamic offense. We saw that in the Colorado Edmonton Oilers series where, I said in the video that, hey, look, whoever finds a way to stop the other team is going to win this series because we're not going to have 2-1 games. We're not going to have 1-0 games. This is going to be one team's ability to be able to put a stranglehold on the other team's offensive, the dynamic offense, which Colorado and Edmonton had. I expect Vasilevsky to be even better in game 2. Yep, I know that's not really going out on a limb when you're talking about Vasilevsky, as he's been fantastic coming off of a loss. Even better coming off of a double loss, but that was only once in the postseason. But check out these numbers. In game 1, in the 2022 postseason. He is just 1-3. Talking about Vasilevskiy, just 1-3 in game ones with the goals against a 3.99, a horrible save percentage of 884, which is well below what we would expect for him. But beyond that, going from game 2 through 7, he's 11-3, a 1.90 goals against, save percentage at 939. So that tells you we can expect Andrei Vasilevskiy to get stronger as this series goes on. Obviously, those numbers are not a shock to anybody who follows this league. The general feeling will be that I think the Lightning will bounce back. That's what I think the public is going to have in the back of their head. Again, for me, I understand where they would come from on this, but the Avalanche, facing Colorado is way different than facing Pittsburgh. It is way different than facing Florida, and it's different than facing the Rangers. I need to see it before I believe it. I think this is a Colorado team that looks absolutely hungry to me. And going back, and this is why it's important to remember these little caveats. I remember, I don't know, January, February, Jared Bednar, the head coach of the Colorado Avalanche, said, we really look at Tampa Bay as a standard of what we want to be. So this is not just an East-West matchup. This is, to Colorado, this means a lot more. This is this is taking the torch and handed it off as far as they're concerned. And in order for them to grab that torch, they have to beat the giant that's in their mind. And they have been well aware of the success that Tampa has had over the last 3 seasons. And if you really want to factor in rust to this, I look at Darcy Kemper, who was good enough to get the win in game 1. But I think after a couple days off, after a game under his belt, I think he's going to come back even stronger in game 2. So let's go to tonight's or Saturday's selection, a game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Tampa Bay has now dropped 4 of 5 against the Colorado Avalanche, while the Avs improved to 10-1, coming off of 2 days or more rest, which the game 2 will certainly fall into that category. They're 58-13 in their last 71 home games. 58-13. And despite the over last night, Tampa has still cashed under tickets in 10 of their last 12. That is a trend that I think is going to continue on Saturday. We're going to give you our first pick, Colorado -1.5 plus the $1.70. It is a very generous number. I still think, from what I saw in game 1, I think Colorado is the better of the 2 teams. And of course, we have the luxury of Colorado's ahead of maybe getting an empty netter, or maybe we're not going to need it. But if Colorado plays the same way as they did in game 1, I don't think it's going to be that close. I thought that the score was not an indication of the game. I thought Colorado was much better. So we're going to go Colorado -1.5 on that side. And then on the total, it's going to be the complete flip around. Under 6, -$1.10. You will see both coaches tighten up and say, okay, this is what we need to do better in a high-scoring game from game 1, and you're going to see game 2 be the complete opposite.